Welcome to the Calm Analytics channel. I'm Boris Tizenghausen. May 12th, today. The main news as of this minute: the conditional truce has ended. Russian attack drones are hitting Ukrainian territory again. Today, Zhytomyr, Sumy, Mykolaiv, Dnipro, Pavlograd, Kiev region, Chernihiv region, and more were under attack. In the Fastiv district, a Russian drone hit a kindergarten building. Of course, the Russians will pay for all this now, and they'll pay dearly. But I think no one doubted that Putin doesn't want any kind of peace at all. It seems to me even Russians don't doubt it anymore. So residents of Perm, Tuapse, and all cities in the Russian Federation within 2,000 kilometers of the border, get ready. There will be a response for everything. Well, our drones have already taken off, and here's the first result. In the Orenburg region, the Orsk Nefte Org-Synthes refinery was attacked, a significant regional refinery processing nearly 7 million tons a year. And the distance from Ukraine is 1,500 kilometers in a straight line, right on the border with Kazakhstan. Now the Russian world fans will start screeching again that the drones are coming from Kazakhstan. No, Ukraine already has the means to strike at 1,500 and 2,000 kilometers, so get ready. Russia hits kindergartens, while Ukraine hits refineries and military plants. And our drones visited another facility. A zinc plant was attacked in Chelyabinsk. The Chelyabinsk zinc plant is Russia's largest producer of metallic zinc and alloys. It provides about 60% of Russia's zinc production, and this plant is even further away, 1,900 kilometers from the Ukrainian border in a straight line. Drones don't fly in a straight line, so the range is already over 2,000 kilometers. So get ready, Russians, get ready. I recently heard the phrase, Azov is returning to Mariupol. You've probably heard it too, and it's actually true. Azov drones are already creating huge problems for Russians in occupied Mariupol and on key logistics routes nearby. Just yesterday, Russian military bloggers were absolutely outraged and threw a fit after seeing footage that clearly showed our Ukrainian drones operating completely freely and without any interference over the Mariupol-Donetsk highway. These drones were striking all sorts of Russian military junk, including Kamaz trucks, Ural vehicles, and various other pieces of equipment and trash that were driving along that road. Watch this video. Help, what's going on? And yesterday I was saying how our drones have already started working along the M14 highway. That's Mariupol, Berdyansk, Melitopol, Henichesk. This is a key Russian logistics route along the coast of the Sea of Azov, right to occupied Crimea. And what does this mean? It means that the southern grouping is being cut off from supplies. What was it Putin said, that the Sea of Azov is now Russia's internal sea? Well, it's now an internal sea for Ukrainian drones and missiles. And for now, Azov is returning to Mariupol via drones, but there's more to come, as they say. By the way, friends, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You can do it right now. It helps with the channel's promotion. And here we are fighting Putin's propaganda. Let's do it together. And I'll remind you, of course, that after subscribing, your hair becomes soft and silky. Don't forget about that. By the way, the New York Times released an excellent piece showing that drones have now completely changed the nature of war, and they calculated how long it would take Russians at this pace to fully occupy and seize Donbass. Do you know how long? As of right now, with all the variables, more than 30 years. Can you imagine? That's more than 30,000 Russians killed and maimed every single month. Will Russia even last that long? I'm curious. By then, probably more than half of Russia will be lying in the Ukrainian steppes. Maybe Putin's tactic is just to wipe out Russians entirely so he can sit in the middle of a scorched Donbass, look up at the sky, and have an Azov drone suddenly deliver a greeting right to his balding head. But that's without considering the future dynamics of Ukrainian weapon systems development. And Ukrainian weapon systems are developing, and Russians 1,500 or 2,000 kilometers from the border have already felt it for themselves. And that's exactly what the next news item is about. A story that received undeservedly little attention, even though it's of vital importance. It's the visit of German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius to Ukraine, or rather, the agreements that were reached following that visit. Remember how some arms magnates, including those from Germany, were saying that in Ukraine drones are assembled by housewives in kitchens? That it's not innovation at all? Well, at the state level, an absolutely opposite approach is being observed. Ukraine and Germany will jointly produce drones with a range of 1,500 kilometers. And a memorandum has been signed to launch Brave Germany, a joint Ukrainian-German program. Minister Pistorius announced that they will develop not only long-range strike drones, but also drones with a range of less than 100 kilometers. In other words, a huge range of drones will be jointly produced with Germany. The mass deployment of drones can give the armed forces of Ukraine a very significant advantage, as the Russian air defense system simply won't be able to cope with such numbers. We are already seeing this right now. And that's not all. During Pistorius's visit, a military aid package worth 4 billion euros was announced, which includes several hundred Patriot missiles that we desperately need right now. 36 systems to strengthen our air defense, and 300 million specifically for the development of long-range strike capabilities. So it's clear that our other partners are not yet ready to continue supporting Ukraine, but Europe is a reliable partner. And I think that's quite evident. In addition to this, joint production of medium-range strike drones with artificial intelligence recognition and guidance is planned. That is, the initial batch for Ukraine will consist of 5,000 units. Well, overall, good news. In the long run, the figures are, of course, even more significant. I looked at the draft federal budget for 2027, and there, 11.5 billion is allocated in Germany alone to support Ukraine. It's fundamentally important. We're not talking about isolated Ukrainian projects here, but about the formation of a unified ecosystem of defense innovations. And now for the main conclusion. Why has this news somehow been undeservedly overlooked? A change in the aid model. That is, Germany today is the #1 partner in supporting Ukraine, providing about a third of all support. But what's fundamental is that the model is shifting from the supply of ready-made weapons. Remember how I spoke about Scholz? Why are you over there clutching the Tauruses in the corner? So, from the supply of ready-made weapons, the model is shifting toward investments in joint production. This is a qualitatively different system of integration, absolutely different altogether. In my view, this is exactly that new NATO without the spoiled children. While someone over there is taking offense, threatening alliance members with the withdrawal of American troops from Europe, the European part of the alliance is completely restructuring its logistics. In short, the logic is simple. In the new NATO, one of the pillars, and I think the main pillar, will be Ukraine. The fact that these aren't just words is backed up by projects confirmed with funding. Basically, the new NATO is already being built, it's just that no one is officially announcing it. Therefore, the French nuclear umbrella, European command, German money, and Ukrainian combat experience, that is what the new NATO is. And in this new architecture, Ukraine is not some periphery or a burden. That is, it's the only army on the entire continent that has been fighting against the massive army of the Russian Federation for the 5th year now. People will be lining up for a component like that. In every episode, we hold an important fundraiser for those performing an incredible feat right now for our defense forces of Ukraine. Today we're launching a fundraiser for drones and charging stations for the 37th Marine Brigade, currently defending the Donetsk sector. The soldiers recorded a video message for you. Please, take a look.
Мене звати тату Аня. Я громадянка Бельгія. Я служу у складу 37-ї бригади морської піхоти. Звертаюся до Boris та його підписників.
Ми є військовослужбовцями 37-ї окремої бригади морської піхоти зенітного ракетно-артилерійського дивізіону. Наразі маємо потребу у зенітних дронах у кількості 100 одиниць. Просимо про допомогу у Бориса Тізенгаузена.
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
In the video is Anna. She's Belgian, serving as a drone operator in the 37th Separate Marine Brigade. I think you noticed that Anna has a prosthetic leg. Very strong, very charismatic, all her life. Having been born with one leg, she's shown the whole world that even the most incredible difficulties can and must be overcome. She was born in Poland. She was adopted by Belgian parents. Later she found out that she had a Ukrainian grandfather in her family. Well, when the war started, she came to Ukraine. At first she was a volunteer, and now she serves in the 37th Brigade. Let's help our Marines from the 37th Brigade. Let's help Anna. The link to the fundraiser is in the description of this video. There's Mono, Private, and PayPal for those who want to help from abroad. And in the corner, there's always a QR code. If you happen to be watching on another channel, it leads to the fundraiser. And also in Russia, as if on cue, it turns out that we're constantly moving from good, bright people to dark people. In Russia, as if on cue, the RPC cultists suddenly started speaking out against European sanctions. Do you know why? Because in the new 21st sanctions package that they've started discussing, sanctions are planned against the head of the RPC, Patriarch Kirill. That is, the RPC is a branch of the FSB, in case anyone didn't know. Orban, who guarded Patriarch Kirill from sanctions like a watchdog, has faded into obscurity, which means Patriarch Kirill has finally pushed his luck too far. So the RPC in Russia, along with Russian propagandists, has been working on the informational recruitment of Russian citizens for this war. How this Patriarch Kirill hasn't tried. He even called the war against Ukraine holy and promised Russians forgiveness of sins if they went to kill Ukrainians. He even managed to build the main military cathedral in the center of Russia, and also RPC FSB priests fly in helicopters, perform rituals against drones basically. They're amusing themselves however they can. They don't forget to bless Russian missiles and other weapons that kill not only in Ukraine. In the end, it'll turn out, I look at this, I don't even know what to call this gathering of villains. In the end, it'll turn out that somewhere in hell they dug a tunnel, and some notorious sinners are constantly escaping from there, and so they wouldn't be easily recognized. They disguise themselves as the RPC on Earth. That's the feeling I have. And, yesterday I read another interesting piece of news. Very unusual details have emerged about a mysterious incident with a Russian vessel that sank, and not just sank, but with components of nuclear reactors for submarines on board. This story happened in December 2024. But yesterday news came out with details, and it's very, very interesting. It's clear that this is connected to the war in Ukraine. The story took place in December 2024. Essentially, Putin, that balding centipede, was trying to transfer nuclear submarine equipment to North Korea back then, but something went wrong. And now CNN is coming out with this report. It's very interesting. The Russian vessel URSA Major, which could have been carrying components for 2 nuclear submarine reactors, sank in the Mediterranean after a series of mysterious explosions. CNN believes this might have been an operation by Western intelligence services. So the vessel departed from Ust-Luga in December 2024. The official route was Vladivostok. It was escorted by Russian warships, which is already a bit strange in itself, as the cargo was declared as cranes, some hatch covers, and other things like that. Anyway, after the escort ships disappeared completely from the radar screens, the Ursa Major vessel itself slowed down quite noticeably, and then, after a brief moment, 3 powerful explosions rocked the entire ship. 2 crew members died then, and Spanish rescuers evacuated the rest of the sailors. So, after that, the captain of this vessel told investigators that the ship was carrying reactor components similar to those used on Russian submarines. It's clear that they were intended for Kim Jong-un. But then another interesting event occurred. In the evening, red flares were fired from the deck of one of the escort ships. And after that, 4 more powerful underwater explosions occurred. Spain's seismic network recorded them, and in less than 2 hours this URSA major finally went to the bottom. Anyway, the final touch. In January of last year, the Russian intelligence ship Yantar arrived at the crash site. On board was a rear admiral, a whole rear admiral, Alexander Konovalov, commander of the 29th Special Purpose Submarine Brigade. This was no ordinary expedition. That is, they had to make sure that everything had sunk or that the remains of the cargo had simply gone to the bottom. And also, American radiation reconnaissance planes later flew over the crash site twice. A version of the vessel being hit by a rare and unknown type of torpedo is being considered. And now, after the publication of the details, the picture is becoming more or less clear. That is, Russia is sending Kim Jong-un reactor components for nuclear submarines in exchange for the shells and soldiers that Kim Jong-un supplied to Putin. The US and South Korea are, of course, the least interested in the development of North Korea's nuclear program. That is, at some point this vessel was hit by an unknown torpedo of an unidentified type but remained afloat. Fearing that information about the true cargo would be revealed and there would be very big problems, the Russians, upon a signal, blow up the vessel and sink it along with the cargo, literally covering their tracks. And this brings us to a conclusion that the entire civilized world is going to find very, very unsettling. Exactly what the West feared most has finally happened. Putin, in a state of desperation, is handing over and squandering nuclear technology. There's a stalemate at the front, the economy is in trouble, and in exchange for soldiers and shells from North Korea, Putin is handing over nuclear technology. And it's clear that we can and should take centrifuges from Iran, dismantle nuclear equipment, and demand the removal of enriched uranium, but this case shows an entirely different picture. You can take all that away from Iran, but a desperate Putin will trade nuclear warheads for missiles, Shaheds, or something else tomorrow. This is where that balding, nasal-voiced, Botox-filled evil is sitting right now. That's why the whole world needs to fight this evil first and foremost. I think some people are already starting to realize this. Thank you to everyone who is helping Ukraine. Ukraine truly appreciates it. As for you friends, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm asking you, please, let's help Anna and her fellow soldiers from the 37th Separate Marine Brigade. The link to the fundraiser is in the description of this video. Have a peaceful day, everyone, and glory to Ukraine.